Hello, friends. Today, I want to talk about 3 things that narcissistic parents train their children to suppress. And these are 3 things that nobody should be suppressing. And the problem with learning to suppress these things in childhood is that they become part of your subconscious programs. And our subconscious programs run without our conscious awareness. So until we even realize that these things are happening, that we are actually suppressing them, they can have a lot of effect and power over our behavior, over how we show up in relationships. So let's bring it into our conscious awareness. For those that don't know me, my name is Michele. I'm a life and relationship coach. I specialize in helping people to break free of the side effects of narcissistic abuse, complex PTSD, and or childhood trauma. I'm the founder of the Thriver School of Transformation, which is an interactive monthly membership where we meet live on Zoom and we work through these side effects, through the coping skills together. So I'll leave the link here if anyone wants to check it out and see if it's a good fit for them. Okay, so let's dive into those 3 things that are super valuable, super important, but are conditioned by narcissistic parents to have suppressed. Okay, and the first one is anger. And to be fair, a lot of parents teach their children, even if they're not narcissistic, that anger is bad, that emotion is bad. And they use classical conditioning to punish their kid if they have this anger. Anger itself is not bad. It's an emotion. It's what we do with the anger that can sometimes cause a parent to want to punish or at least help to modify the behavior. But speaking of anger in and of itself as the emotion, narcissistic parents make you feel bad if you get angry at their treatment. And we know that their treatment is not healthy. So if they kind of blow up and have narcissistic rage, and then you're upset, right? And you're angry at how they treated you. You're angry at the words that they called you, or you're angry at the way they never listened to you. You're made to feel not that you're having a normal reaction to abnormal parenting, but rather that you are a problem and that there's something wrong with you for being angry. And so because a child knows that they're dependent on their caregivers for survival, anger becomes something that's dangerous, and a child begins to suppress and suppress. And every time they're upset, they hide it, they push it down, and they push it down. The problem with that suppressed anger is that it causes you to tolerate in adulthood, to tolerate behaviors that are unacceptable and that are outright abusive, right? Because that's what you had to do in childhood. That was the strategy. Suppress the anger, tolerate the abuse because your survival was on the line. And without realizing it, you bring that into adult relationships. Suppress the anger, which is usually hiding pain, right? The pain of the abuse. Suppress the pain, suppress the anger, and tolerate. This is why a lot of people wind up in long-term toxic relationships, because they've been taught and conditioned to suppress healthy reactions to unhealthy behaviors. Okay, so bringing that into your conscious awareness allows you to start choosing. Okay, we'll talk about that in another video. The second thing that narcissistic parents teach you to suppress are your passions and your talents. And this is really sad, because basically when we're talking about suppressing things, we're basically talking about our shadow, right? And we tend to think, okay, anger is bad, and that's why it's in the shadow. But with narcissistic parents, they put in your shadow things that are good, but that don't allow them to be able to take the credit for. And so because it's beneficial to you, and for some reason not them, or for whatever reason I should say not them, they criticize you when you have this talent. Or they do it covertly, where maybe your sibling has a similar talent but less, right? They don't have as much talent as you in that area, or they have another talent. And the narcissistic parent pays so much attention. Look at this amazing thing that the golden child does. And your talent, if it's not outright overtly criticized, it's ignored, which to a child is just as painful, right? You don't feel seen, you don't feel heard, you don't feel validated, you don't feel worthy. And so what happens? Again, your brain starts associating your passions with pain, goes into the shadow. And when things are in your shadow, your brain rewires around them. So what that looks like is that, let's say you can sing amazingly, and every time you sang, you were criticized, and now singing, like you have like a panic attack when you're about to sing. So you stop. That's what the brain does. It's like it gives you these stress hormones to tell you don't do that because it's dangerous. And so it rewires you to stop doing it. And then that pathway becomes so well worn that getting in touch with your passions after narcissistic abuse can feel really hard because your own body has been rewired to not allow you to feel good engaging in them. The third thing that narcissistic parents condition you to suppress is your authenticity. You are not allowed to be you. You have to be something that reflects them. So you're either reflecting how amazing they are, or you're reflecting how amazing they are for putting up with how messed up you are, right? So what I mean by that is they will provoke you to, in front of others, act in ways that show that you're upset, that you're irritated, that you're frustrated, and they're super calm. And people start viewing you as the problem, even in childhood, which is so sad. It's kind of why I've done videos years ago where I said that narcissistic abuse reminds me of emotional Munchausen by proxy, where the parent makes the kid sick for some kind of benefit that they want from other people. Narcissistic parents make their kids emotionally sick. And then they get this like victim supply from others, like, oh, you poor thing, you have to put up with that kind of a child. Meanwhile, they're making the child like that. So that's what I mean by you're not allowed to be you. You either have to reflect them as an amazing parent because of something you've done, right? Give them the credit for it, or you have to, or you're riled up to be a problem so that they can get benefit from other people. Either way, you are taught that you are not allowed to be you. A lot of adult children of narcissists don't even know their authentic self. They think it's dead. They think it's gone because they've never been allowed to live in harmony with their authentic self. And again, that's all because narcissists view your authenticity as a threat, especially because you have what they will never have. You have real empathy. You have real emotions. You have the real ability to get close to people, to have intimate relationships. You have the real ability to have an inner self. Whereas the truth is they're void. They're void of a real self, and they live their life 100% of the time, 24/7, every day of the year in their false self. That's why your authenticity is a threat to them, because it makes them see what they don't have. If you don't realize that you were taught to suppress these things, you will continue to suppress them. You'll show up as a people pleaser. You'll show up as somebody that desperately needs external validation in order to trust yourself or to know or hold on to your own truth. And you'll never feel whole. You'll never feel enough because you're fragmented. So my advice to you is, if this resonates with you, then it's time to do some shadow work. It's time to learn how to integrate the different pieces of you. And by the way, in the month of May, that's what we're going to do in the Thriver School of Transformation. We're going to do some shadow work. So if you want to join us, make sure you check out the links.